Wording. Okay. Well, in any case, do you want to just say anything or whatever, or you can just get started? My purpose is to go over the future, the real-time program audit, or RTPA, future and possibilities as I see it, and they include making multiple millionaires, including you two, and others who will attempt to do it. So did you want to have me just dribble on, or do you want to say anything? But I do thank you both for your incredible effort, and I can pretty much guarantee that you will be millionaires from RTPA. Okay. Do you want to say anything, or just have me dribble on?
Yeah, let me say one thing. Sure. I think I'm repeating myself, however, that is in our German culture, we, at least Robert and myself, are more after getting the IBM I community to have a new tool that they can work with, that they will become happy with. We are not so much after becoming millionaires. For some reason, becoming a millionaire is not something that most Germans have on their as their #1 aim.
Well, that's great, and that was my intention as well. As you'll see, I'm going to document at least 8 millionaires or multimillionaires from ABS, and I'm not one of them. So for whatever that's worth. Okay, great. And Robert, do you want to start? But I do want to say thank you guys both for your incredible efforts and advancing this tool, this potential tool that I think I can show you in this presentation or meeting that will actually be that invaluable tool. Robert, do you want to say anything, or I'll just start?
No, just go ahead.
Okay. In any case, what I've done is I actually have 2 Word documents. I'll just go through this first one very briefly. As you know, I stopped developing RTPA last January, closing out my my LPAR, and I stopped it at what I call RTPA version 7 release 1, V7R1, put it on a thumb drive, and you both, you Toolmaker, took that and it had greatly enhancement. So what I've decided to do now is to update our website, because Dr. Suzanne Harkins, my daughter, did a great job on the website, but that was in 2019. So I wanted to refresh the website to 2022 and enhance it and put that RTPA V7R1 source and object, the V7R1 that you downloaded, on it, so anyone who wants to use it can use it. But we do know that you greatly enhanced it. So in any case, I contracted with this person called Janie, who was, as we speak, enhancing the website through this Word document. But in doing so, I put on this first, long story short, I put on this little clip and about the CCSID. So the net of it is we developed it. I developed it using the United States CCSID 37. And as you can see on the right, that's valid for US, Canada, some portions of the Netherlands, Poland, Brazil, New Zealand, and Australia. I think full for New Zealand and Australia. So I believe the net is, as you'll see in the later on, that people, when we get like you, will be able to download the V7R1 as it was last January, this January a year ago, and they'll be able to do what you did, but without the agony of the CCSID that you encountered being CCSID 273 in Germany. So for whatever that's worth, that's the little prelude. So what I'll do, and you can please interrupt, comment at any time. But what I'll do actually is I want to go to page 6 if I can. Let me see if I can. Well, talk about talent. I don't know how to go to page 6 here. Well, let me just.
Try pressing F5.
That's what I did just 5 minutes ago. There it goes. I'm going to go to page 6. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So this is the document that I sent to the Janny, who was the $200 an hour, which is fantastic, WordPress expert. And he's putting all this stuff in the, that I outlined into the,
You can close the window now.
okay. Thank you. So what this is let me just skip a little bit further. And this won't take all that long, but it should give you a treasure trove of information. So the first thing I wanted Janny to do was put the FTP of the files automatically into the current website, RTPA website, and have the person put their email and name, and they can download it freely without even any license or whatever. And so essentially all the English speaking or the CCSID customers worldwide will at least be able to start where you started, which is the V7R1. And I'm doing that. Anyway, that's what I like him to do. The second, just to go through a couple of them. I'll try to go through this really quickly. Second one is put in new headings of the current RTPA videos, the books that I've written, the downloads. When they click download, they would get V7R1 source and object. Put in a page for consulting, which means if they want to call or consult, we could consider them doing that. And then I also have a few more of these buttons, these heading buttons. Now, one of them being my perspective, and that's essentially the next the Word document that you'll see, which shows hopefully people how to use this tool and become millionaires. But so in any case, I won't go any further in this, but this is the information. So as we speak, Jenny should be updating the WordPress website to be a beautiful, and Suzanne did a great job on this, by the way, Suzanne and my other partner, Peggy, on making this a current website with a great style, and this will simply enhance that. I heard somebody wanting to say something. Anybody?
No.
Okay, so
no, we had just lost you for a few seconds, but you're back.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Okay, I don't know what's. Am I on?
Yes, I need to go to the other phone. Just a second.
Okay, sure. Take your time. What I'll do is I'll just switch to the.
I'll mute.
Hello. I'm going to switch.
I think you should pause the recording now.
Okay, pause it. Put the recording, and we'll see if we can go to the meat of the presentation. So the net is, hopefully the website will be a spectacular website from this, including SEO. So it should draw, or hopefully a lot of requests and interest. All of that I would pass on to business partners or whomever might want to be able to solve them. Okay, now this next Word document, let me see if I can close it. This is the big one. It's a 37, started out with 2 or 3 pages, but I just like to go through it. It may take 20 minutes, and hopefully you'll interject, comment, observe. But this is the whole history and hopefully future of RTPA, I believe. And the start of it is, what's in it for me? How can I become a millionaire or multimillionaire? I'll just go through it. And what I'll do is I'll name at least 8 people that I personally know and I work with who became millionaires or multimillionaires with the IBM Apparel Business System, which is my previous product. So you'll see hopefully some striking information about that. And as much as I believe at least a dozen people actually became millionaires from that ABS IUP, I think RTPA is far bigger far more important or potentially more important. So I think there's hundreds of people like you and Robert, Joseph and Robert, could become millionaires or whatever, feel good about providing a product that really enhances the IBMI with RTPA, simply because RTPA is potentially useful, critical to virtually all the 120,000 customers whom you'll see on the later on in this Word document, whereas the ABS was only good for apparel companies, of which there may be 2,000 or 3,000. So it's literally, RTPA is literally 50 times the potential for usefulness, success, and wealth as did ABS. And anytime, guys, interject or whatever you want to call it, but that's the theory. And so what I did here, and because I don't have to waste your time on the IBM deliverables, but essentially the field developed programs, FDPs, and the installed user programs, which are included the Apparel Business System, 3 or 4 products that I and Gary Reinhardt co-authored, they're no longer available from IBM. So as you'll see a little bit later, the 500 customers, apparel customers that the ABS Inc. Company supported, that software is no longer available for IBM. So I don't have to explain IUPs and FDPs, but as you know, the FDPs were free, developed by IBMers, SEs normally, but they were distributed free, including the source from IBM. That's now a classic open software environment. Whereas the IUPs, the installed user programs, were distributed by IBM, typically written and or documented by IBMers like me, SEs, but they were fee. They were 24-monthly fee payment because they were owned by customers. So I don't have to go through all this detail, but you'll be able to see it on the website, or I can send you this this document. But the point is, all of those hundreds or thousands of critical programs that were written and available to IBMers like me. When I was an SE at IBM, I used this product called the Minimum Telecommunication System, MTCS, which Joseph may remember. But what it was the first display system, like CICS. It was a field developed program that let you do screens, like 2260 screens on all these new IBM accounts. And IBM didn't have a product that did it. So this one guy, Pete Jensen, who I know and work with and helped debug MTCS, he developed it. He took the OS operating system, TSO, as if Joseph remembers, time sharing option, the display on that mainframe, and he cloned it. He copied it, he condensed it into something that would work under the IBM DOS operating system. And that was installed thousands of times, 10 times by me as an IBM SE working in my IBM accounts. And the point is, he's gone. The MTCS is gone. All the FDPs are gone. All the IUPs are gone. And that means IBM, without beating a dead horse, IBM is incapable of providing software like potentially RTPA to the 120,000 customers. And that leaves a big opening for IBM ISVs. So I'll skip all through that. But did you want to comment on that or whatever? But that's the opening: is you are available. You are in position to be the prime vendor for 120,000 IBMI customers. And right now, there's no competition because there's no SEs, no salesmen, and no FTPs and no IUPs. Another example is, which I won't go through now, but it's Power. It's called another SE that I know and work with in the Philadelphia data center, Larry Whitney, developed this thing called Power. And it was essentially, he was an OS guy, and he took the OS output writers of spoolers, because originally the small systems in IBM didn't have a spooling system, and he cloned it like Pete Jensen did for MTCS. and IBM embraced it in DOS. So it had a spooling system, but he's gone. IBM's gone, and he did that as an FTP. So I guess what I'm trying to get to here is IBM is not in a position now to provide virtually any new critically needed applications, whether they're user applications like ABS or IBM utilities like MTCS and Power, because everybody's gone. So that leaves IBM in the ditch. So I'll stop with that. But if you have any comments or you'd like to agree, disagree, feel free. And that left one other thing, which I'll just briefly talk about, which is even IBM systems engineers who did not make FTPs or IUPs distributed by IBM PID, which is where they distributed all the software by disk normally, or diskette. There were thousands of IBMCs like me doing work installing new IBM computers, and we wrote because there were not applicate or functions that we needed like RTPA available, we wrote them ourselves. And this is one that I wrote for Casa Biggest. Yes?
Now it's back on.
Okay. Thank you. So basically, we as the thousands of systems engineers installing the thousands of IBM new accounts, this one being a System 3 Model 40 in assembler and DOS, they were the first customers. Joseph H. Cohen in Philadelphia was one of the first customers to upgrade from the 2311 disks, which were 7 meg, to the new 2314 disks, which were 28 meg per drive, external drive. There was no I'll try to get through this. There was no way that the SE could figure out how to put the disk label for the number of records, the number of tracks to use to store the records from the 2311 to the 2314. So I wrote a program, an assembler called Volcal, which took the count key data record information from the 2314 and computed how many you put the records in, and it would tell you how many tracks you needed to put on the disk job control DLBL cards. And basically, I did that. I wrote that, and I used it in some of my accounts. And then one of my customers, I found I was reading Computer World, and Bob Kimberg, the systems programmer at that account, he actually advertised it. He took it, called it Volcal, and he was selling it on Computer World as his own. But the point is, again, there's no SE field SEs anymore to create these programs, make them IUPs, make them FTPs, or distribute them. So what that leaves the customers with is basically nothing, no tools. So
Paul,
yeah,
I need to leave the office in about half an hour.
okay, I'll try to.
Could you skip the next 40 years, please?
Well, I can. Actually, give me a couple of minutes, and I'll.
Well,
Yeah,
you can just skip the time between 1960 and 2000 and start again in 2000.
Okay. I don't know. I don't even know where that is. But basically, all this stuff is showing the ideas and the implementations throughout the years of all the things that led up to RTPA. So let me just go right down to the bottom here. I'll just try to show what's really important. Actually, I just saw something today in IT Jungle. I'll just go right here. I think this is very important, but it'll only take 5 minutes. I just saw on IT Jungle the magazine, or the online magazine today, or last week. The editor, Timothy Prickett Morgan, discussed that there are 140,000 IBM customers, and they did a study recently, this last month, and they found that 94% of them do use RPG, 17% use COBOL. And of course, virtually all of them use CL. So that's the market. What that says is, to me, and then today, in today's IT jungle, he came up with another incredible article, and that said, based on help systems and their current knowledge, there are 120,000 unique IBM customers, and they broke it down by release, by the IBM release, and you can see the different number of customers. So basically what that comes down to, I'll cut right through, because because RTPA, the distribution of RTPA that you have and the customers will get from the RTPA website, it goes back to 7.1. So that means you should be able to address these number of IBM customers directly with that IBM, that code, including the object code. And the ones before, even, we don't want to discount the 21,000 IBM that they say are IBM version 6 customers, but the problem is only the source will be downloadable to them. You would have to recompile it's basically an RTPA gen, which would take maybe 2 hours, and then they would be able to use the object too. In other words, the RTPA object is only valid down to 7.1. Can you understand that? But in any case, the entire IBM customer base, 94% of which is RPG, down to V5R3 is a valid immediate prospects for RTPA. Please chime in or however you want to know that. Do you want to discuss anything about that or not? And then the other side of that, another important, credible side of that, again from IT Jungle, where they go through the CPWs and the power. Originally, when I started in 2001, RTPA, the compile was very slow to create, very slow for us customers to expand. But as you can see, based upon the number of cores and threads and CPWs, that now everything is instant. Think of, if you would, the direct analogy to the battery costs for electric cars, which have enabled electric cars. Originally, now it's a fraction of the cost it was 15 years ago, and that opens up literally the entire car market for batteries, where it wasn't there 15 years ago. So I'll just drop on down, and we will be done in a couple. I'm going to go past the history. The key point is that there are so many, as an SE, as a 22-year IBM veteran, as an IBM system engineer, we were constantly, and as IBM customers, they were constantly finding critical problems that IBM did not address, and that was the inspiration for RTPA to solve that. Just like Larry, the MTCS and Power solved it for thousands of IBM accounts by other systems engineers. So I'll go down. Now this is the important one, I think. It'll only take a couple more minutes. So what's in it for me? What's in it for every? This is something for, especially for Robert. What's in it for me? Basically, I believe RTPA created at least a dozen millionaires or multi-millionaires, and I'm naming those people right below. But I believe RTPA, again, because it, instead of being available to 3,000 or 4,000 apparel accounts worldwide, it's available immediately to 120,000. So that's why I believe there are hundreds of people like Toolmaker, like Peggy Pasella, like Charlie Garano, hundreds of FDP or IBM ISVs can do what you're doing or have done already and become wealthy, as did Marvin Pasternak, Mickey Pasternak, Gary Reinhardt, and some of the users of ABS, like Gene Benet, customers who installed ABS, like Fritzia, California, and then they took ABS and they cloned it to a thing called ACS, and they sold hundreds of those systems. So you never know where it's going to go. But all these people I know, or at least millionaires or at least millionaires, and the net is for Robert, for whatever it's worth, 7 of those multimillionaires were the company owners, and one of them was the company CIO, Lou Jenkins, and who shortly became an owner. So the net is all the people who took action were and scored big were owners, not just programmers working 9 to 5. So for whatever that's worth. And I'm going to take a drink of water here. And the other message, this may sound like vitriol or whatever, but it's not. Those who did not take action to succeed, like all the systems engineers in Philadelphia, the 20 of them on the apparel team, just like me, they refused to do the IUP. They refused to do the later ABS 370. And I had to hire a high school graduate, Gary Reinhardt, into IBM because all these sophisticated programmers were just working 9 to 5, waiting for their IBM pensions. And guess who became the multimillionaire? Gary Reinhardt. So the point is, I believe IBMI programmers are today resisting those productivity changes, just like the IBM SEs did, and really just the way the IBM headquarters staff today is doing it. They're great people, they're smart, they're talented, they're educated, but they're just doing basically 9 to 5, just like a post office guy is doing, waiting for that fat IBM pension. So if you're not hungry and you're not willing to strive for success, you're going to be you're not going to become significant in either helping people do a new product or in becoming wealthy. So I'll go to the end and stop. But this will all be as my perspective. So there are some hugely important questions and observations based on that information, but I guess we don't have time to discuss them today. Let me just go to the end and I'll stop, and then we can close it up. But in any case, I'll go down to the end and come back. This is where I think we are. Okay, the next steps. Okay, basically, ultimately, whether this is true or not true, but ultimately, I believe the on-demand cloud computing capability of IFTP, of RTPA, which I'm just now implementing, the future of the IBMI world will be just like Google and Google Translate and all the whatever will be, and Amazon Web Services and all the other things will be worldwide, virtually instantaneous remote program enablement in many of the compiled languages, including IBM, RPGCL, and COBOL, which are already there, and the other languages of C and C++, which are easily implemented, as also on the mainframe compiled languages being Enterprise COBOL, JCL, and in Linux, C and C++. They're very easily done by some hungry person or company, and they will literally replace the field programmers and implement and individual implementation of IBMI in individual customers. So for whatever that's worth, and now the next step, and it's the final page. So what would be the next step? This is what I envision, and I think can happen or may happen, is that to market RTPA software to virtually all the IBMI current 140,000 customers. Then to extend the distribution capability beyond IBM 7.1, which is a limitation now, 7.4 down to R1, to V5 R3, and that's this chart here. And basically to go to a V6R1 IBM i customer and below, you can't distribute that object, but you can recompile the RTPA programs, and they'll work all the way back to V5R3. And look at the number of customers there. It's virtually every IBM i customer that should be able to use the current code. And I'll just try to stop here. Well, okay, anyway, the next step would be to continue the decades long development of RTPA. Now, and Toolmaker is in the position to do it because it's hosted at Toolmaker. So I'll just really stop, and then of course later in a bigger picture would be to use the RTPA outputs, easy audit, directly in machine learning and artificial intelligence, just like Google and all these other customers already do. Right now, there is no capability within IBM to do that because there's nothing logging that real-time data. And the last part, and not to being on my 27th year of IBM pension, hoping it lasts that long for me, is to understand that without FDPs, IUPs, IBM field salesmen, IBM SEs, that IBM is not capable of creating or delivering or supporting critically needed IBM software like updating of the green screen or RTPA, fixing debug and whatever. And that leaves any person like Toolmaker with an open shot at implementing thousands, tens of thousands of IBM customers for whatever reason. So that's essentially the net. And not to push Tesla, but I just saw and here was the RTPA was 15 years ago. It's 20 years ago. RTPA was written up in this MC Press magazine, and Don Reimer, who is still a consultant, IBM i consultant, he gave it almost a perfect analysis. And his comment was, "I wish RTPA would put IBM would put RTPA in the base OS, which they have not done, and that's your opportunity." So I'll just stop at the end here, and I don't want to push Tesla too much, but basically, people who did not change, like the IBM, like the ICE car manufacturers, we're going to be out of business, and RTPA is, I'm not going to really say it, but RTPA is going to put all those people who will not change out of business. And it's just going to happen, but if somebody follows on after me. So I'll stop there, but did you want to comment on anything? Or I know you got to go, but so that's essentially what I'm attempting to do. Right now I'm focusing, I've saved that money that I was investing in the Litmus Spaces LPAR a little over a year ago, and I'm putting it all into Tesla stock. Because now it's somebody else's time to pick it up or not. So there you go. Did you want to anything?
Thank you, Paul, for presenting your ideas concerning the future of RTPA. Last week, I already made a selection of customers who I think I will ask helping us with a beta version. Robert looked over this mailing already, and he said this sounds good. I hope that let me just see how many I will ask. I stopped this and was waiting for today just to see if there's anything new, but apparently there's nothing new. So I will send out a request to 280 customers asking them whether any one of them is willing to make a try with the first version.
Wow.
And then we will only accept a maximum of 10 customers out of those 280 because for the very first shot we will not be able to support more.
Right.
So once they've been working for a month or so and we don't have any further problems, we'll just address the rest of the market and sell it to them.
Fantastic. I stopped. Actually, I wasn't aware that you were on vacation, so not hearing from you, I stopped developing. But would you like me to spend perhaps the week, of course, at no charge, implementing the free form, free RPG fully free, the asterisk free?
Yeah, I think the full free would be a very good thing to develop. However, this I need to talk to Robert on which library you should work on or which you shouldn't work on, because at the moment we are, I think, we try to have a kind of a frozen zone. That is the part that we want to ship to the customers should not be changed. You know, because if you work on it for 2 weeks.
Sure, I absolutely. I could, however you want to do. When I was developing, we were developing all these other products. We did have a development system. So if Robert would, however he wants to do it, or you want to do it, but simply copy the source and object over to, you know, ZZ audit, you know, a ZZ, whatever the thing with a T or D suffix or whatever, and it would all be done out of that. Be done out of that duplicate library, which would not be production. And once it was done, then Robert could move it over to
because
production.
the WAPIX system that we're working on right now, we're using this as a demo system for customers as well. So if you ruin this, that wouldn't be very good.
So yeah, so how did you want to proceed then? Would Robert set up whatever duplicate library, however he thinks it should work, and I'll be working solely in that library, you know, those libraries.
Paul, could you keep your hands still for the remainder of this week?
My hands are still. They're actually. I just keep looking 1,000 times a day on Tesla stock. So,
well, what I want to do, or what I would propose that we do, is to move the ZZ audit libraries to our distribution system.
Okay, fine. Yes, so I won't do anything until, and then we could just keep working. That's the easier way to do it, because then
we do have a dedicated system that we use to distribute things to customers. So we could sort of take the version as it is now, move that to the distribution system, and then you could carry on. That would be free form. Seems like a good idea to me. Yes.
That's fantastic. Yeah. Any other way? Basically, I've quote unquote retired, and because I don't have a system to work on, and I'm, you know, now focused on Tesla, but I'm available to do webinars, seminars, customer support, whatever, you know, free, obviously free. I mean, I don't need the money and or the glory.
But in order to move the stuff to the other system, I probably need the rest of this week.
Oh, fine,
so
fine.
If you could pick up work on Monday, that would be good.
Great. Okay. Well, I can't tell you how much I really salute you guys for being hungry. You're the next Gary Reinhardt, who became a superstar. He was. I'm serious. I mean, he's a high school graduate from Edison High School, and that's known for the number of combat casualties in Vietnam. And he became a genius superstar at IBM only because the people, you know, the smart people or the educated SEs wouldn't pick up the task. So you've picked up the task. So hopefully you benefit greatly.
There's one more thing that I need to talk to. That is, the RTPA name is something that you had patented more than 20 years ago, right?
I did.
Yes. So the thing is, toolmaker cannot use this name.
The patent is expired. After 20 years, patent's expired. It's open. Anybody can do anything. As far as
there's still some rights. According to German law, whoever started with a name first, whether it's patented or not, whether it's expired or not, in case of people going to court for some reason, the person who used it first has the right to use it. So
Well,
RTPA is your name.
however you want to solve that, you want me to write something or whatever it may be,
There's only two options. One version is you send us an email and you grant us permission to use RTPA and the RTPA name for free for
Absolutely.
future market.
Absolutely. Just send me an email and I'll pass it back. Agree.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Guys, I'll be dead, but all I can do now is try to get RTPA, help all these customers, and help any ISV who takes action to succeed. And I'm not looking to make any money from any way from any whatever.
Yeah. Okay. I'll send you an email.
Great.
Very good.
Anything else, guys? Thank you so much. I look at you guys like Gary Reinhardt, unbelievable, and you'll be rewarded in many ways. So.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thanks very much. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
See you.
Bye.